Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. It's now March. The year is ticking on, isn't it? Crazy where the time is going. We've got, I think, a pretty critical subject that we want to talk about today. As you're aware, the Launch Partners strategy continues, of course. It is something that was bang on the money when it was introduced. The objective of Launch Partners being to encourage and to support local activity happening in local areas and supporting that rhythm and development of the business at a local level and expanding out from there over time. And some people have thrived with that and done well with it, others not so, and others are plugged in. I'm going to, one second, mute all, there we go. And others have plugged in and learned along the way, and maybe are just getting revved up and ready to go. This year, with the focus being on the Power Start team, there is a slightly different perspective that is complementary to, not in conflict with, last year's Launch Partner strategy. And it's important to highlight that. It adds value, it enriches and expands upon the foundation that we laid last year. That being that we want to focus on helping people getting started strong and utilize all of the annual incentives that are available to maximize the opportunity for people's prosperity, their success, and their achievement. There is plenty of evidence that demonstrates that if people get started strong, if they have a few quick wins, if they have some immediate sense of success, be that through getting a check in their first month, getting a rank advancement to executive straight away, those types of things tend to engage them longer in the business, and you retain the people that you brought in. You don't just simply bring them in and see them drift away. There is, and unfortunately the industry is famous for it, what is termed a revolving door of distributors that exists in network marketing, where people come in, they go around, they don't do much, and they go back out again. And many, I think everyone that's built an organization of any decent size has witnessed that in their own organization, of people coming in, doing little, and going out. And it can make you want to pull your hair out. The solution is kind of twofold here. On that foundation and bedrock of a rhythm of the business that begins at a local level, beginning with our in-homes, our local meetings, and expanding out as the organization and team grows. With that foundation, we help people to get started strong and profitable as soon as possible. Now, we had our first Team Kaizen call for the year yesterday, which was a great call, hosted by our new sales director, Ruben. And one of the points that he gave each of us a chance to kind of introduce ourselves a little bit so we could all get acquainted with him and him with us and so on, which was really nice. And one of the things that I mentioned there, which I wanted to kind of reiterate here, was whilst we've got the Power Start team that provides the process, and everyone getting started in business needs a process to follow, yeah, what is also of critical importance, which really is the fuel to make the process work, because without this, the process is like an ingredients, is like a recipe book with no chef in the kitchen. Yeah, it's the desire or the drive to make it so. I was asked a question once by a very experienced networker, and he said, "Is recruitment an action or a reaction?" And this is a really good question. I asked this question on the call last night, on the Team Kaizen call. Is it an action or a reaction? And the answer is, it is a reaction. Now, it's interesting. What we do, and I'll repeat this, because I think this is a very, very profound truth. What we do is the fruit of what we think, feel, and believe. Okay, I'll say that again. What we do is the fruit of what we think, feel, and believe, which means if recruitment is not happening in my organization, It is a reflection of what my organization currently thinks, feels, and believes about the business. What we do is evidence of our own beliefs, isn't it? It's evidence of our own priorities. It's also evidence of our own convictions. So what we don't do is also evidence of that. So my point is, if recruitment is the fruit or the consequence of hope, because that's the belief that we're coming down to here, is what belief, what feeling, what thought is required to exist within our mind and heart in order for recruitment to become a reaction in our business activities. And I believe, it's my conviction, that the emotion that is required is hope. One thing that has really struck me so much over these last few years is the critical importance of hope in building a network marketing business. It is essential. Now, what is hope? Hope is anticipation. It is one of these emotions. I'm not sure if you've ever taken time to consider this, but some emotions that we experience are time sensitive, meaning not that they exist for a period of time, of course they do, meaning some emotions we experience as a result of the past. We can experience stress or anxiety, sadness perhaps as a result of the past, but hope is something that is forward facing. It's centered on the future. It is anticipation. It is based on things that are yet to come. I've always used the example, having a household of little children, of Christmas Eve being the perfect example of visible hope. Because Christmas Eve, when you've got a household of little kids, and I think pretty much everyone on the call here that I can see, I think, are parents, and some grandparents even. We all know what that's like, don't we? And we've experienced it ourselves as little kids. We can still remember it from when we were little kids. That wonderful anticipation that keeps us awake at night, that makes it difficult to get to sleep, that fills us with energy, that gives a positive spin on everything that's going on in the world because we're so excited and hopeful about what lies ahead. Any little box, big or small, is just exciting at the thought of what's inside it because we're just so full of hope that this is going to be a great day. All these packages are for me. So the critical thing for us then as field leaders is to develop hope. So the question then becomes, and I think what I would like us to do is take a real gut check over the course of this weekend, if that's okay. And I say this with real candor and with strong encouragement, because we're all on these calls because we want to grow the business. We all joined Nikken because we love the cause, because we love the products, because we want to make a difference, but also because we want to make a meaningful residual income. Yeah, we want that. And there is nothing wrong with claiming that and saying that this is a business. It is not a charity. We can fulfill the cause of Nikken in lots of different ways. You can't quite do it without the products, of course, but there are lots of different ways to make a difference in people's lives outside of the Nikken environment. The reason we utilize Nikken as a vehicle is because it does good and it also rewards us as a means of income in the process of doing that, so that we can provide for our families, fulfill our dreams, aspire to greater things, and so on. So I want us to each ask these questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, what hope do I currently have in the future of my business? What does it look like? Now, I know some on the call, I'm not going to point out anyone or name names, but I know that there are some that have got a goal and an aspiration to go diamond this year. Yeah? I have every hope and every conviction that they're going to do it. They get the job done. They set goals, they achieve them. It's going to happen. I have great conviction of that. But in order for us to make a real impact, we need more than 1 or 2 people with those types of goals. We need more people believing that they can do that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your hope at in this regard? Now, if it's high and it's great, and I'm going to get from platinum to diamond, or diamond to royal, or from gold to platinum, wherever it might be, whatever that challenge is, if your hope is high, then the action will follow through. Yeah, because hope and faith are almost synonymous. Almost synonymous. But they certainly go together, and they are fundamentally fueled by action. Yeah, they create action. They are the catalysts of action. We can't have faith and belief and hope without taking any action. It would render that belief and that hope dead, wouldn't it? If I had all this hope and didn't do anything about it. So the question then becomes, if I don't have the hope, what do I do? How do I move forward? We need this community, like we've talked about. We use this, and I think Dave, I shared this with Dave, I think when we first got acquainted, and he's quoted it over and over and over ever since. The need for us to have a club that people want to belong to. We need to have that sense of community. However, we can have a community that exists, that thrives and prospers, but if my individual proximate hope is failing, then that will have a significant impact on my business and my outcomes. So even though we have a community, that's not enough. Even though we've got great products, that's not enough. Even though we've got a great process with the Power Start team, that's not enough. Even though there are these annual incentives and these great rewards, we see that's not enough. Perhaps even with a new president and a new executive team, we think, well, that will really kickstart it, but that's not enough. So what is it that is required for us to fuel and develop that critical inner hope that things will turn around and get better for me? It's one of these really interesting things, because hope leads to action, but also action leads to hope. Yeah. Sometimes we think I've got to feel it first in order to take the first step. And if I'm not feeling it, then something needs to change externally in order for me to change internally. Does that make sense? Have you felt that? Maybe you've thought that in the past. If something outside of me changes, then something inside of me can change, and I can get on board and I can move. The reality is, if we want the hope to develop and grow, and it's got to come from within, and I'm not feeling it yet, the simple process to start is to take one step forward. Do something about it, even if you're not feeling it. And that is where character comes in, where we say, right now, and I love this principle, because I believe this to be fundamentally true, that in order to grow in hope and belief, that the starting step is wanting to believe. It's not in believing. And Mike said this on a call with the UK team a few months back, and I wrote him afterwards and said, Mike, you blew my mind. This is just so profound and so true. So often in network marketing, we are told all you got to do is believe. If you believe, you can go out there and you can do it, you can achieve it. But that's not true. Belief, and I'm quoting you, Mike, I hope you don't mind. I'll give you some time in just a sec. But Mike said, belief is experiential. As a result of our experience, we have belief. So the starting point is wanting to believe. We've got to want to believe it. And with that wanting, we take a first step or two and generate some activity that will give us evidence that we have reason to hope. Yeah, because action leads to reaction. Action leads to consequences. So if we can take some action, go out there and speak to a ton of people and say, no matter what, I'm going to work all out this month. It's the beginning of March. I'm going to go all out and I'm going to recruit 2-3 people no matter what. No matter what. Do I believe I can do it right now? I don't know. Is my contact list strong enough right now? I don't know. Maybe I need to start from scratch. Do I know where to get going right now? Maybe I don't. But I want to know. I want to do it. I want to get that result. Because if I get that result, then I can believe with greater conviction and I can move forwards. So the first thing to do is take that step. Start building the list. Start making a few phone calls. Start putting some actions in motion so that we can get a reaction that will fuel and fan the flames of that hope. Then with hope leads to more hope, leads to more as a result, because it becomes a virtuous circle. More hope leads to more action, leads to more hope, leads to more action, which leads to increased results, increased performance, increased confidence, increased outcomes until the prize is won. And that, when we can couple hope and anticipation of great things yet to come with the process being the Power Start team, the Launch Partners platform, when we can combine those two together, great hope, great confidence, coupled with great process and great field support with the community that we've got, then we can see results coming, yeah? But you can see that it's no one singular thing that will happen, that will make it work. But absent that one thing, remove the hope from the equation and everything else will fall apart. Everything else crumbles. So this is the critical first step for each of us. We've got the process. We've got the team. We've got the community. We've got everyone willing to get behind everyone and champion and cheer and celebrate every step of the way. We've got a new president. We've got exclusive products. We've got a great cause. We've got the wellness home. We've got a great message that really sets us apart from every company in our industry. And we've got a field base of fans that I think are just second to none. But if we don't have that hope, individually, personally, doesn't matter if someone else has got it. If Mike's got it, but I don't, what good is that to my business? If Ruth's got it, but Barbara doesn't, what good is it to Barbara? Doesn't matter, does it? We've got to get it for ourselves. It's got to be born in here. And the only person that can really drive that is me, the individual. We are exclusively responsible for how we feel. And one thing that I've really learned especially over the last few years, is that emotion, feeling, is not just something that we experience, it's something that we choose. I can choose to be happy. I can choose to have faith. I can choose to believe. I can choose to feel whatever I choose. It's up to me. So that being the case, it's not always easy. I don't say that it makes it a walk in the park. Sometimes I desperately want to choose happiness and it doesn't always come, yeah? Because life experiences can throw it out in the other direction. So it takes work and effort and sacrifice, but it gets you the result. Getting a great achievement in Nikken isn't like skiing down a wintry, snowy ski slope. We don't sail downwards to success. We climb upwards, don't we? And that's what we need to do. Anyway, I've gone on longer than I perhaps should have. But Mike, do you want to unmute and share your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Well, this is such a golden thread, and the conclusion, Ben, you're drawing is what I've experienced over the years when I spent a great deal of time and energy and effort trying to build the perfect system after system after system, refining it to the point where I could claim quite confidently it's the best system there is. And yet it didn't change the behavior of individuals. It gave people who had the desire a track to run on and help them grow their confidence, but it didn't change the overall experience. What changes the overall experience is what we're talking about right here. The desire to actually change the situation in your life and in the lives of others. So the perfect system is like having the perfect car. If you don't know how to drive it, it's not going to go anywhere, or not very well anyway. And so what drives us, what drives our business, it all comes back to this one card here. Why? Why are we doing what we're doing? And what Ben's talking about, using the word hope, when someone feels hopeless, they do nothing. They fall into apathy. And so it's a perfect measure of where our business is at, is the reflection of either apathy or hopelessness or hope. I think we can all renew our hope, and the activity of this, what words were coming to mind is the decision, this idea of how do I change the situation in an instant? Well, until I actually make a decision to change the situation, I haven't actually done anything. And the decision itself, when you make a decision, doesn't mean you have the answer. And that's what I think a lot of people think has to happen, is they first have to know, or they have to believe in order to make the decision. No. If you're ever going to accomplish something you have not yet accomplished, you don't in your consciousness host the belief, because you haven't accomplished it yet. You may believe for others, oh, good for Mike, oh, good for Ben, but you don't believe for yourself, which if you don't switch out of that, you're gonna have apathy. You're gonna be hopeless. So how do we get into hope? First of all, we decide, what do you hope to accomplish in 2019? I mean, what do you hope to accomplish in 2019? I think that's where you start. What do you hope to accomplish in 2019? You know, in terms of your business, in terms of your personal life and lifestyle, what do you hope to accomplish? Doesn't mean you're going to, but you hope to. At least we start with something. And then you make the decision to actually accomplish it. And you don't need to believe it's possible. You don't need to believe that it's true for you. You just need to make the decision to go for it. Because until that happens, you don't inspire or attract to you the mechanisms, the circumstances. The system is irrelevant to you if you have no need for a system. The opportunity is irrelevant to you if you have no need for the opportunity. A lot of people have this incredible opportunity. I love the slide that Ben put together that shows you the degrees to which you could actually engage in your business, from the retail to the recruiting to the actual network marketing approach. It's like you can have the best vehicle in the world, but you're driving it in first gear the entire time. And that's really not taking advantage of what's there. And so what we're talking about is, how do we get the action going, how to inspire hope, and then how do we expand that to this particular group, launch partners. How do you actually apply this? If you're going to be hosting an event monthly, what is the focus of that event? If we have every other event taking place during the course of the month is process. It's simply processing people in the information. Where does the fuel come in for the whole month's activities? There's got to be a crescendo. It's like a moment in time where people can be inspired. That's where you guys can really show up as hosts of events, those monthly events. I'm a little disappointed in monthly events where I see attendees by themselves in their living room as golds, platinums, even diamonds. This is a pointless exercise. The event is not for an A means there needs to be a C. If there's no C in the equation, it's not an ABC, and therefore it's not being utilized properly. So the goal of the Power A team, the goal of those monthly events, is to provide an incredible ABC experience, where in that experience, there's a renewed hope. There's a sense of hope. And I think we can accomplish that or embellish that by actually articulating our own hope. Like, when you get out in front of an audience, do you talk about what you hope to accomplish this year? Or do you just talk about what you've accomplished? Which do you think has the more inspiring and attractive power to it? I think it's when you talk about what you hope to accomplish. When you look at, for instance, the incentive program and say, I've got my sights aimed at that, I want to invite others to do the same. I think there's power in that. When you start articulating to your team, to yourself, what it is that you hope to accomplish in 2019. Because unless you have an objective, a big enough objective, then you don't really need anybody to come to help you. But when you have a large objective, then you invoke the power to attract people, because now you need the help. And so the consequence of having an objective, the consequence of having hope, is that now you create the need to attract the experience and the people to make that experience possible. So what I was writing down was, but we talk about you need to believe. No, you need to have faith, and faith is the absence of belief, quite frankly. It's in fact the absence of belief. And faith comes from an understanding that there are things that you don't have within your control. It's just recognizing that if you look through your past, you'll find that certain things happened in your life as consequences of a decision you made, but you could not have predicted those things. You might have anticipated them, but you couldn't really have predicted them with certainty. So faith is knowing that something is happening in the background that facilitates and makes it possible for us to attract the circumstances into our life. And so what is it that we need to do to get engagement? We have to decide what it is that we hope to accomplish in 2019 and then make the decision to actually do it. Again, whether you achieve it or not is not the point. It's the decision to go after it that creates all of the consequences that will come through. You may start to reach up to Upline and ask for help because now you need it. You may start asking people that you come into contact with. Give an example. I got a phone call yesterday for my birthday from a fellow who did my alarm system years ago in my house. Years ago. But he and I have always said happy birthday to each other. His birthday's today. And so Frank called me up and I said, so Frank, what's been going on? What's going on in your life? And he says, I'm doing the same thing. I got to get out of this. I'm so done with this. I said, you know what, Frank? Your timing couldn't be better because I'm actually looking for some help. What do you say we get together this week? So he and I are going to get together this week. Why? Because I'm looking for help. Because I actually sincerely am looking for help. Why? Because I have objectives for 2019. And now my mind starts thinking in terms of, I need help. Who can I ask? It's funny what happens when you make the decision, then your mind flips into a different channel and it starts operating differently, consequentially. So what do you want to what do you hope? Not do what you want. What do you hope to accomplish in 2019? And then make the decision to go for it. Then all of a sudden, your subconscious mind, your waking mind, even your sleeping mind starts to try to figure out how's that going to happen. And it starts going into a rhythm and an expectation, and you start to draw to yourself. So I would like to suggest that on your monthly events, that there's some segment of that event that you dedicate to this conversation of what it is that you hope to accomplish, and what you can ask your audience, what do you hope to accomplish in 2019? What a great question. Can you imagine just asking a person who's a guest in the audience, what do you hope to accomplish in 2018 or 2019 with your life, even in respect to these 5 pillars of health? That is the conversation that's going to, because you imagine you walk into an environment and everybody in that environment is hopeful and discussing what they hope to achieve in 2019. Man, that's a pretty powerful scenario. If you were a guest and walked into a room where 20 people are discussing what they hope to accomplish in 2019 in any one or more of their 5 pillars of health, I think that's going to be a very inspiring, event. And then when you bring on the Power A team, who come in and say, man, I was there and I made these decisions and I rolled with it, and this is my life today. You got the combination there. It's like, wow. How do I get started in this? We've got a process. We've got the foundation for this. Now what you have is a powerful agenda that I think can achieve great things.
I think that's excellent. And I really think that we can achieve much more if we lead with talking about hope, sharing our own hopes, and also encouraging others to be more hopeful and to share their hopes. If we can help people to get comfortable in sharing their hopes and dreams, thinking a little bigger, dreaming a little more, and sharing that, and sharing our own with each other in that way, I think we can stimulate a very encouraging, enthusiastic conversation that can lead to a lot of good. The reality is emotions are contagious, aren't they? And there is nothing more contagious than an optimistic, positive attitude. Yeah. So, and that's at the very heart of hope, isn't it? By definition. So we would each, Mike and I, invite each of you to really consider carefully, where is my hope at? And if I need to take some action to stimulate and grow it, let's do something quickly, promptly to do that. Not one step and then stop. We don't grow our hope by taking one step. We start by taking a step, but we don't finish by taking a single step, yeah? We simply start by taking a step. But let's take that step. Let's move forward. Let's speak with others and get them talking about their hopes and dreams. Share it together, because I think in doing that, they will feel the sense of opportunity that's available to them here, and they'll want to do something about it.
Can I just jump in here? I mean, I'm getting excited just thinking about this. I'm imagining these conversations. Like if I sit down with Frank and I say to Frank, "Hey Frank, tell me something. What do you hope to change? What do you hope for this year?" And he starts talking about that. And then my role just simply becomes the person who's the cheerleader who says, well, why don't you go for it? Why don't we do it together? I might have the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. I had a similar conversation today with a friend of mine that I'm connected with through Facebook, who expressed, he raised a question online on Facebook, and I answered the question and said, I think you're spinning your wheels. It was a business-related question. I said, if you don't mind me saying, I think you're spinning your wheels. I think you're stuck and you're spending too much time on this issue. Then I private messaged him and I reached out and I said, Kevin, I hope you don't mind me being direct that way, but we're friends. It seems to me that you want to achieve more. You want to connect with a higher purpose, but you're stuck and you don't know where to go. So my comments were shared authentically out of genuine interest and help. How can I help you get unstuck? And he responded immediately. Happy to get that feedback from you, Ben. I respect you. Yes, I am stuck. I am spinning my wheels. Please help me. It's interesting, isn't it, how if we can just connect with people's concerns, and it will often be centered in a desire to experience or feel more hope in some aspect of their lives. But if we can share that, connect with that, they will always want to say, yes, I need more help. I need some help. And then, like Mike said, we can sit back and we can listen. They do all the talking. They will motivate and inspire themselves by saying what they're hopeful for. And then all we need to do is say, I can help with that. And they're already at a place emotionally now, after sharing their own hopes, that your offer for help becomes something very interesting to them. So ask the question, let them do the talking, and then extend the offer for help. Let's build people's hope and faith, and let's do that together. So excellent. Thank you guys very much. I think this has been very helpful for me. I know it's been a great discussion tonight. So hopefully this will make a difference as we move forward into the month of March to get some better outcomes. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.